The hardest sale Vikram Mehta ever made had nothing to do with software, nothing to do with quarterly targets, and absolutely nothing to do with the CRO breathing down his neck. It was convincing a retired history professor from Pune that he was the right man for his daughter. And here is why this matters and why we are spending an entire episode on it. Vikram did something in that situation, something he had completely forgotten how to do in a sales room. He figured it out by accident. It worked brilliantly, and then he walked into client meetings for the next several years without once connecting the two things. Until one evening, over chai, it all clicked. Hi, I am Prashant Uttekar, and this is the Accidental Sales Strategist, where every episode is two things, a story and the framework hiding inside it the whole time. In the last episode, we left Vikram with a terrible day, holding a metaphor about crocodiles and waterfalls and not quite knowing what to do with it. Today, he goes home. His wife Meera makes chai, and the most important sales lesson he ever had walks in through the back door. Vikram arrives home from the Alpha Corp disaster feeling, as he later describes it, like a completely deflated football. Meera, who has absolutely uncanny ability to read his moods, takes one look at him and says, "Rough day? Did Mr. Gupta try to optimize your stapler utilization too?" Vikram manages a weak smile, and then Meera says something that sends him somewhere else entirely. "Remember convincing Baba to let us get married?" Now that was a sales pitch worthy of an award. And just like that, Vikram is back in the most terrifying room in his life. Well, Mr. Jayant Deshpande, retired history professor, staunch Pune traditionalist, a man who initially viewed Vikram with roughly the same enthusiasm he might reserve for a surprise tax audit. The first meeting had been a formal, thoroughly terrifying interrogation conducted over poha and filter coffee, where Vikram felt his resume, his life choices, his career, and at one point, he was fairly certain also his taste of footwear was being microscopically examined for flaws. Well, not sure if any of you have gone through this experience. Coming back, he had fumbled through it, trying to impress, and had almost certainly come across as a nervous wreck. Sounds familiar? Because it is exactly what happened with Mr. Gupta at Alpha Corp. But here is where the story is getting interesting. After that disastrous first meeting, Vikram did not keep throwing himself at the wall. He changed track, almost without realizing he was doing it. And what he did next was something he had never thought he would apply in a sales context. Right. Here is the thing that connects those two disasters, Baba and Mr. Gupta. In both rooms, Vikram walked in with his own agenda and no real understanding of his audience. With Mr. Gupta, he asked about magic wands without knowing what kept the man up at night. With Baba, he tried to impress without understanding what Baba actually needed to see in order to feel reassured. In both cases, the other person was not hostile. They were just unmoved. And they were unmoved because Vikram had not done the work that earns the right to be heard, basically the homework as I call it. And I know this is hitting the right spot for a lot of us because I have watched it happen in rooms across the country, rather beyond that as well. Teams walking into meetings with heavily loaded presentations with full of things, jazzy ones, dancing here and there, and almost nothing about the person on the other side needs to hear. What Vikram does next, quietly, without calling it anything, is the thing that changes both situations. And it starts with a very different kind of preparation. Vikram starts doing something he had never thought he would do for a client meeting. He researches the person, not the company, the person. He quizzes Meera. What are Baba's passions? Deshpande writings, old Marathi Natya Sangeet, his bonsai plants which he tends with utmost care and love, his morning walks on Betal Tekdi without fail. What are his unspoken fears for Meera? That she would marry someone who did not respect their values or someone who could not hold down a steady job. What are his pet peeves? Sloppy dressing, mumbling, and anyone who dares to suggest that modern music was superior to the classics. Vikram becomes, in his own words, an absolute intelligence agent gathering data points on his target audience. And you know what? I have seen this exact thing happening in a lot of companies too. The same person who will spend 2 hours of research for their daughter's prospective school or figuring out exactly what to say to a difficult relative at a family function walks into a client meeting having spent only 5 to 10 minutes on the company website. We will come back to that. Armed with what he knows now about Baba, Vikram starts showing up differently. He does not challenge Mr. Deshpande's worldview, he finds common ground within it. He accidentally borrows Pula Deshpande book that Meera has on her shelf and then strikes up a conversation about it with Baba. He learns a few lines of the Natya Sangeet classic and hums it when Baba is within earshot. Badly, but the enthusiasm is there. And then there is that bonsai. On one of the Sundays, Vikram is helping Baba with the bonsai plants, which is a deeply optimistic decision given his relationship with anything that grows in soil. And he accidentally snips the wrong branch. Dhat teri ki. Mortified, he apologizes profusely. Baba looks at the branch, looks at Vikram, and then says something nobody expected. At least you are not afraid to get your hands dirty and admit a mistake. Most young people these days, he trails off and does not finish that sentence. But Vikram understands completely. An unexpected quality one Baba had anticipated but seemed to be genuinely appreciated. A few months later, at a family dinner, Mr. Deshpande looks at Vikram and then at Meera and says very quietly, "He's a good boy, Meera. Does not know much about Natya Sangeet, but he is learning." From Mr. Deshpande, that one sentence was the equivalent of a brass band with a ticker tape parade. Vikram sits there with his chai, turning all of this over his head, and something clicks. He had done it all before, not the selling of software, the selling of trust, of a future, of himself. And he had done it in a very specific sequence without ever once knowing that it is what he is doing. He had started by genuinely trying to understand Baba's world, not what Vikram wanted to show him, but what Baba actually needed to see. The walks on Betal Tekdi, the Pula Deshpande, that bonsai, he had understood their world before he ever tried to enter it. He had illuminated. Then, he had not tried to change Mr. Deshpande's worldview. He had found a new way to show a future that felt safe and reassuring within it. A version of the future where Meera was happy and valued, presented in a way that made sense to Baba. He had reframed. He had not made grand gestures. He had proved himself through small, consistent actions that connected directly to what Baba valued. Punctuality, respect, that Marathi play he sat through without fidgeting too much. He had validated. He had understood what Baba needed to see and feel and then quietly, patiently build towards it. One Sunday, one conversation, one bad snipped branch bonsai at a time. He had architected a path. He had shown up as himself, using the qualities he actually had rather than the ones he thought Baba wanted to see. His ability to listen, his willingness to hold his hands up and admit a mistake. He had activated his own strengths. And that quiet nod at the dinner table, wah, that he's a good boy, it was not a dramatic close. It was the natural conclusion of everything that had come before it. He had solidified. Well, illuminate, reframe, validate, architect, activate, solidify. It was. Vikram had done all of it without knowing what it was called, without knowing it was a framework at all. He had been just trying to marry the woman he loved, and somewhere in that effort, he had found the method he had been missing in every sales room for the last 26 years. Isn't that crazy? Here is what I keep noticing working with the sales teams. Most people do this intuitively in their personal lives too. Before a difficult conversation with a family member, they think about what the person actually needs to hear. Before asking for something important from the someone they respect, they consider what matters to that person. They read the room before they open their mouths. And then they walk into a client meeting and do none of it. They pitch from the first minute. They talk about their product before they have understood the person sitting across from them. They ask the equivalent of a magic wand question before they have earned the right to a real answer. The gap is not skill, mind you. It is not intelligence either. It is that nobody ever told them that what they do naturally in their personal lives is exactly what a brilliant B2B selling looks like. It just has a name now. In the next episode, Vikram takes Irvas, the framework, into a real client situation for the first time. Deliberately, not by accident. A company called Zenith Logistics. An operations head named Mr. Iyer, and the very first letter, Illuminate, put to work in a way that changes the entire direction of a deal. If you have got a team of Vikrams somewhere in your organization, people who are good with clients but cannot quite tell you why, or why they sometimes lose deals they should have won, I'm happy to listen and have a conversation about it. Until then, see you next week. Bye bye.